Good morning. And I'm doing this to beware of spoilers, but welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I'm doing this to beware of spoilers because I feel like it's an interesting experiment as we get into what I will probably be watching this Sunday, on top of copious amounts of football. But Doctor Who Flux, I started watching that because it is the Regeneration episodes this weekend, if I read the thing right, and I think I did. Now, looking, first and foremost, I just can't get over, I watched Black Adam last night. If you want to hear my review about Black Adam, go ahead and check out, it's the previous episode on the stream. It's going to be that. There are spoilers, and it mostly comes from the Suicide Squad aspect of it, which is questionable. But looking at, I just can't believe it, how much I slept on it, and I'm like, that movie is just so much like an edgy teenager wrote Shazam fan fiction, where it's like, and then instead of Shazam being a little boy from from like the Midwest, he's a grown man from ancient Egypt, and he gets his power from the Egyptian gods. And then and instead of being a red suit, his suit is black, and he kills people because he doesn't care. He just cares about justice, even if it means killing people. And it's like, it's such a an interesting kind of like thing in that regard. And then to be like, oh, and then here's his villain who's like, it's Shazam, but instead of it being gods, it's demons, and their plot is to bring the hordes of hell to Earth and take over the air. It's so fucking ridiculous. Like, and then it's like, and he fights the Justice Society multiple times, and he beats the shit out of Hawkman, and it's like, okay, well, great, cool, awesome. Like, it is kind of like listening to an edgy, like, teenager or preteen tell their fan fiction to you. Black Adam is Cold Steel the Hedgehog. That's what he is. He's the one who's gonna teleport behind you and say, "Nothing personal, kid," before he stabs you in the chest. Like, that is who Black Adam is, compared to Shazam. Anyway, I want a little bit of a palate cleanser after that. And we're getting headed up to a Regeneration episode. So a little bit of context for where I fall with Doctor Who. I was not a fan of Stephen Moffat's run, and I think if we go back to me talking about what's it called? What was that show? The Time Traveler's Wife, which Moffat worked on. I think he was the lead writer on. I voiced that then. I was not a fan of his run on the show. It got kind of too up its own ass. I just couldn't engage with it in a meaningful way. And I loved Russell T Davies' run. I liked Eccleston. I loved Tennant. And then it was kind of like when I got to when I got to what's his name? When I got to Matt Smith, I was kind of not as engaged with Matt Smith as I was with the other two, and he stayed on through Capaldi, and Capaldi's where I kind of fell off once I kind of did that whole thing with Clara, and I'm like, well, why is she sticking around now? Like, we've finished her arc. She's just kind of there. Like, I felt like this had happened before with someone. I just couldn't remember who. But it's like, alright, so they're bringing back Tennant for the centenary, or the 60th anniversary, whatever. I think it's the 60th anniversary, not the centenary. Or the centennial, I guess would be the better way to put it. But, so they're bringing back Tennant, and they're bringing back, what's her name? Donna. So I was like, alright, maybe I'll get back on it. Russell T Davies come back to showrunner, and the Regeneration's happening this weekend, so I'm like, alright, let's see where this leaves us going into his run. I want to see what this new Doctor is going to look like, because you only get a glimpse at the end of the Regeneration, but you do get a sense of the change in personality, the shift from what the previous actor brought to it to what the new actor brought to it. I do wonder if they're going to do what they did in the past, where the regeneration happens and the what's it called? He stays in the clothes of the previous one. For an episode where it's like there's like an episode that, like the first episode of Tennant's run, he's still dressed as Eccleston. The first episode of Matt Smith's run, he's still dressed as Tennant, and it's in that same costume. And before he picks out his own thing, I don't know if they're gonna do that here because I feel like that'd be a little bit weird to have him be. I mean, look, granted, like it's not like Jodie Whittaker's outfit is like strictly feminine. It could still work for a man taking over, but whatever. And part of it was, too, I had heard a lot of complaining, like an inordinate amount of complaining about the quality of this season of the show. And I decided to start with Flux, because Flux was billed as kind of self-contained. And it's like, alright, so if you watch Flux, you will get, it's kind of its own thing. And it is kind of standalone and all that. But if that's the case, like, my thing is, I don't quite understand why, I don't understand the gripe. Because, like, is it that the effects look shitty? Because, like, the effects never didn't look shitty. The effects always looked shitty. That was kind of what Doctor Who's thing was that the effects don't look great. The same goes for, like, was it, like, is it her, she's got a chaotic energy to her, but, like, Matt Smith was like the king of chaotic energy. Like, his entire character was chaotic energy. Like, he's the guy who shows up in the middle of the fucking world ending with the fucking Pandorica opening, and he's showing up, he's got fucking fez, he's like, I got a fez, his fezes are cool, and it's like, alright, well, cool, I guess. And in these first two episodes, they bring back the Weeping Angels, and continually, I want to talk about the Weeping Angels, because I think the Weeping Angels are good as a concept, and they're good when used properly, but when used improperly, it's just kind of silly, because the villain's basic entire shtick is it plays red light, green light with you until it sends you back in time, because they don't kill you, they just transport you back in time, which is why I had such a problem with the end of Amy and Rory being the Angels did it, and it's like, alright, well, can't they just go, like, back in time, like, to that point? It's like, no, it's a fixed point. It's like, alright, well, can they go back in time to, like, a year after and take them from there? Like, there's no real, like, when you have a time machine that's working, there are no real stakes to the Weeping Angels. Like, the first episode with the Weeping Angels, Blink, or Don't Blink, I forgot what it was called, with David Tennant and it was, Freya Yeaman, I think is how you pronounce her name, who played Martha, and it's like, that episode worked because Tennant, the Doctor and Martha are not there for the episode. The entire episode follows Carey Mulligan, and I think it's her boyfriend, I forgot her character's name, but her and her boyfriend, yes, Carey Mulligan of She Said and Promising Young Woman, had a small role in a Doctor Who episode, way back, and you follow them. You're following them, and they're trying to communicate through time with the Doctor, who has been separated from the TARDIS, so he cannot travel through time, and that's why it is a reasonable and worthwhile endeavor to do it in that episode. The issue is when we have an issue that, like what's going on here, where time is ending, and the vibe I got from this episode was very much the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's what this felt like, except after the antimatter wave comes, instead of everything is being destroyed and them being left at the beginning of time, instead of that, they are sitting like in kind of like Battle World from Marvel. So it's a little bit of everything from comics that you've read and loved, which I'm not complaining about. I mean, I'm not, like, comics have been ripping each other off for years, why can't, and science fiction has continually ripped each other off for years. That's always how it works. It's, you're inspired by what other people do, and you're like, I'll do it slightly different. Like, I mean, it's just how it works. You you see that story, you're like, well, let's tell a similar story, but with these characters within the rules and confines of this universe. And it's an interesting approach. I don't see a problem with it. I think that there's a lot going on. There's certainly a lot going on, and I'm not going to contest that. I think that they could have trimmed one or two plot threads to make it a little more concise. But I don't understand the vitriolic hatred for Jodie Whittaker. I really don't. Like, I watched the, what's it called? I watched the, I watched the episodes, and I'm like, she's fun, authoritative. Like, it feels like what we had with, what's it called? What we had with Matt Smith and David Tennant. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Matt Smith, but I think she's more endearing and likable, because, like, Matt Smith had, like, that chaotic puppy energy, but, like, to an annoying degree. And, like, he could get serious when he needed to, but, like, it felt like he's playing an almost entirely different character that's taking over for those moments. I don't, like, with her, when she gets serious, like, when she's dealing with the Centaurans, which, again, fucking ridiculous villain with a video game weak point, where it's like, if you hit them in the back of the neck on this little dot, they'll just pass out, and it's like, alright, I guess, like, sure. But, like, with the Centaurans, and it's like, she's dealing with them taking over, and like, they're starting to piece together what's happening with the Flux, and I'm just kind of like, I just, she does a good job in those scenes, but it's just, it's like, you know, I don't understand the vitriolic hatred. I really don't. Besides the obvious, which is just, there's a woman in my thing, get it out. Like, that, which tends to be the thing, and they mask it behind bad writing. But, like, look, if this is bad writing, then you have the same bad writing that's been the case for 60 years almost, because it doesn't look or feel any different from any other Doctor Who, except for the fact that you have a woman in the lead. And I really love her dynamic with her companion. I think her name is Yaz. I like their dynamic, and it is an interesting kind of, you know, thing where we have these two friends. It's like, and I think that inherently, and it's not, well, no, it is the fault of it's 100% the fault of the writers. Like, every time since Eccleston and Rose, I would say, with the exception of Amy and Rory, there was always this kind of desire to put it in a kind of will they, won't they kind of thing. I mean, well, not so much with Martha, not so much with, maybe I'm just making that up. But, like, there definitely was that with Clara, and I'm just like, or is it Clara, and I'm just pronouncing it Clara because that's how they pronounce it with a British accent? Possible that's the case. Either way, there definitely was that with her and, what's it called? Her and, her and 11, but still, like, doesn't matter. I don't know. I feel like it's an interesting kind of approach. I just hope that we get to a point where, where they are able to, like, tell the story more consistently and, like, have more consistent episodes. If that's the complaint, where it's like, look, we're not getting episodes consistently as I want, I think that's a valid complaint. But I don't think you would necessarily have to go to the vitriolic degrees that you do, in the case of some of these people who are, like, this angry over their show. Just keep in mind, it is just a TV show. Like, that is the, you know, the most important thing to remember here is that it's not real, not a documentary. Like, that is, you know, the key to any show like this, is that it's not real life. And if the show, and especially with a show like this, where it is designed, where each run is designed to be modular. And I think that, like, you can pick out the runs from showrunners that you like, the doctors you like. You can pick out all of that. And because right now they may not like what you may not like what they're doing, just wait a little bit. They will eventually pivot back to do something you do like. Like that's the thing, and for what the show is, it does it pretty well. Like, that's the thing I don't get, is that it's like, what is the hate? Like, what is the pretense they're using to hate the show? Because it's like, the thing is, it's like, we know what the base hate is. Like, we know that it is a woman of color as the companion, we know that it's a woman as the doctor. Like, let's get that out of the way. I'm not sitting here and feigning, like, what do they not like? And it's like, no, I know what they don't like. But the thing is, we have this thing now where people are talking about, where people figured out how to code their dislike using things that are legitimate criticisms, which are legitimate criticisms in so much as it is a legitimate reason to criticize something, not the criticism is legitimate within the context of the show, or what you're watching, where it's like, the amount of times you see, I don't mind women characters, I just hate poorly written women characters. And it's like, okay, but can you give me an example of a well-written woman character that you like? And it's like, you know, it's something that kind of got grandfathered in because I saw it when they were a kid. It's like, well, I like Ripley, or I like Leia, and it's like, bullshit, because if Leia came out today, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, if Star Wars came out today, people would hate Leia. Because these two guys who came to rescue her, get her out, she immediately berates one of them for being too short. Then once they get out, the plan goes to shit, she immediately takes control of the whole situation and goes from there. And then it's like, in episode 5, she starts showing romantic feelings for both Luke and Han. You know, or using Luke to get at Han, and then they get to Bespin, and she immediately starts going after the black guy. And 100%, people will be calling it woke SJW propaganda. Or some combination of that. You know, leftist, globalist, you know the rigmarole at this point. But, and I think part of it is, like, I can't put myself in their shoes. I can't put myself in that position to be like, okay, well, this is obviously the reason why it's not liked. I can't put myself there. The issue, that is the issue. I can't quite, because it's like, if you're going to say that criticism applies to the entirety of the run of this show for now 60 years. Most of the criticism. When I'm watching, I'm like, it just feels like every other season. I don't understand what the problem is. Like, I haven't watched the other season she was in. Maybe there is something dumb that they did. But I don't know that. I've started with Flux. And I haven't watched since. I've seen some of the first season of, what's his name's run. I've seen some of the first season of what's his name? Peter Capaldi's run. Because I did really like him on The Thick of It. He's great on that show. And I was like, oh, I hope this is the take they're going for with this character. And it kind of was, but it's like, the rest of the show didn't quite feel like, I'm not going to invest an hour a week in doing this. At that point, I'd already gotten into my, my love affair with the Arrowverse. So it was very easy to just be like, I'll just drop Doctor Who and go into this next. But yeah, so tomorrow I'll discuss probably the next 2 episodes of Flux. If not that, then the Barney documentary that I've been meaning to watch but still haven't, because I've been busy. But yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. So, until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.